Welcome to PR Powerhouse, helping female entrepreneurs to get in the press and to gain PR. I'm Jo Swan, and I'll be sharing how to harness the power of the media to boost your credibility and business visibility, no matter what stage in business you're at. Because I'm on a mission to show you that PR is not just for the big boys. In the show, you'll learn how to reach out to journalists and own your place in the press, because you are ready to become a PR powerhouse.
Hello, and how are we? Welcome to episode 21. So we've broken the back of it. We've broken the back of your first 20 episodes of you really getting to grips with how to understand the power of PR. And now we are going to dive into some little extra elements, some nice little cherry on top type episodes for the next few episodes. And then it's going to be time for me to actually get some of my guests on board, which I'm really, really excited about, to bring you some fabulous people where we can start to have wider conversations about PR and how it's impacted other people's businesses, how they've really used it, how they've tapped into it to really elevate their growth and their profile. So I'm super, super excited about that. But I'm also very excited about today's episode, because today's episode came on the back of me delivering a masterclass last week. And I always love to share the kind of findings that come out in real life, that come out from people's questions and people's own situations. So this is where this episode has come from. So today we're talking about what to do if you don't want to share your story. Now, if you've listened to a variety of the episodes that have made up PR Powerhouse so far, you will know that I talk a lot about sharing your story. You will know that there's absolute huge value in sharing your story from a PR perspective, and you'll know that actually it gives you massive, massive leverage. So it still is very much an advantage to be in a position where you can share your story and share your journey as to how you've got here and to why you're doing what you're doing. However, I totally appreciate that not everyone is in the situation where they can share that story. So when you come to share your story, you've got to be in a real position where you're ready to do so. And you've got to be in a position emotionally ready. And you've also got to be in a position legally ready, because actually some people's stories are so complex and involve other people that it's not quite as simple as that to just go off and to tell your entire story. So we like to encourage you to come at the PR when you're in a place of comfort with your story, when you're in a place of really being ready and being able to actually tell the elements that matter and not feel like you're skipping bits, missing bits out. You're kind of joining up all the dots. So that's your ideal situation. But if you're not in a position to do that, then let's think about what your other options are, because this was a question that I got posed to me in the masterclass last week. So somebody said, well, what if I'm not ready to share my story? What if I'm in a situation where I'm kind of legally bound not to be able to tell some of the details of my story, and actually I'm not emotionally ready either? Is PR dead to me? Have I got no opportunities? Where do I go from here? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you 5 ways that you can create PR without sharing your story. Okay, so number 1 is one that I have talked to you about before, because this is a real key part of PR anyway. So number 1 is sharing your knowledge or your tips. So to share your knowledge or your tips, you don't have to connect your story to it. We always advise that you at least connect a little bit of you to it. So you do have your very basic description of who you are, what you do and why, because you still need to come across as a human being. You still need to come across as an actual real person rather than just a corporate machine churning out some content. So you do need a bit of personality in there. And we always say when you are writing tips and advice and that kind of content, that actually this is still an opportunity to share some of you and to share who you are, what you stand for and your values. So we don't want it to be soulless. We don't want it to be, completely cold content. But what you can do with your tips is focus much more on sharing your knowledge rather than sharing too much of your story. So you could think about a number of tips that you could share that probably you've already shared on social media, but you might never have made it out to the world of the press. So you probably already do have existing content that you could use in terms of top 10 tips, top 5 tips, 7 ways to do this, real kind of listicle type stuff, really quite short to the point, action taking content that people can really take away and use. And the media are really, really grateful for that kind of content. The other thing that you could do from a tips and advice point of view is to share an experience. So perhaps share a business experience. So you're still giving a little bit of you and you're still making it personal, but it's not about your personal life. So it could be a business experience where you've overcome a certain challenge in business. It could be where you have maybe failed and then succeeded. It could be something very specific that you've learned around a certain area of business that you've mastered, a certain area of marketing or sales techniques, or it could be something very specific, but it's an experience that you're looking to share. So you can go down either route. You can go down your tips-based article, or you could go down a slightly fuller article, which is a more experience-based article. But either of those you can do without having shared your backstory. And either of those you can do from a standing start as well. So this is something that people feel nervous about. When we talk about sharing tips and advice, they feel like, well, I can't do that because I've not done any other PR first. That can't be the first piece of PR that I do. Or I can't do that because I'm still too new in business and I'm not a big enough expert to issue these tips under that expert banner. Now, as we know, that is all nonsense because you are an expert because of the knowledge that is inside you. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. So you've got to embrace that. You've got to be ready to own that space as an expert because you are an expert because of everything that you have learned, taught yourself, learned from your clients. So there's a level of expertise there, whether or not you've been in business for 10 or 20 years. That part of it doesn't matter. The part that matters is that you can communicate very clearly to the journalist that you are credible, very clearly to the journalist that you are very clear on what you stand for, on the knowledge that you're here to share, and the mission that you are on to educate people around your certain subject. So you've got to go in with confidence. You've got to go in very forthright with the journalist to help them believe that you are credible. But to do that, you don't have to share your entire backstory. You just need to have a really nice intro message, a really nice little elevator pitch that just positions you well as an expert in your space. So that's the first approach you could take. Now, the next 4 approaches all come down to a slightly different type of PR. And these next 4 points are all around creating a story. So if you don't want to share your own story, your own backstory, your own kind of what's and all story, as some people call it, then you can create a story which is more of a one-off story, more of a campaign, more of a happening, more of something specific that is going on that you can then create content around. So let's look at 4 ways that you could do this. Okay, so the first way that you could do this is through a campaign. Now, we've talked about campaigns in other episodes, and I'm just going to touch upon it here because when you create a campaign, you create PR content because you create something to be able to write about. So when you are doing something that is very mission-led, when you are doing something that has got an end result, when you are calling people to take action and kind of calling people to come together to achieve something, that's a campaign, and that's something that you can use the media for to elevate and to get conversation going around. So to give you a little example, one of our clients decided that she wanted to get rid of plastic from her business. And so she created a crowdfunding campaign to help her generate the revenue that she needed to actually completely overhaul a lot of the systems within her business to enable her to reduce the plastic from her business. Now, she could have just done this anyway within her business. It could have just been an activity that she built up to doing. But by creating a crowdfunding campaign around it, she created talkability around it. She created ways to engage her audience. She created opportunities for PR on the back of it because that call to arms, that kind of call out for people to come and get behind her, to support her, that was a story because that's what she was needing. She was needing people to get behind her to help her reach her goal. And so that was something that we could write as a press release, which meant that we could issue it to the media as a ready-made news story. And that got her quite a lot of PR. Now, on the back of that campaign, Sarah, who was the client, did also manage to tell her story again of why she set up in business, because actually they were interested in who this lady was, what she was up to, why she was going down this route, what her business was all about. So if you create a campaign, often it gives you a wider opportunity to talk about your business more broadly. But that absolutely is a way that you can get yourself in the press if you don't want to go down the real life story route and you want to create a PRable angle that you can approach the media with. Okay, number 2 in this section is all around creating an event. So much like creating a campaign, creating an event gives you a PR hook, it gives you a PR angle, it gives you a reason to talk to the media because you're promoting something that you're trying to bring people together on through. You're promoting an event that you're inviting people to, you're promoting an event that you want people to get involved in, you're promoting an event that's for the greater good, that's for the benefit of others. So in doing that, then you can PR it, then you can tell the media about it, and you can get the media to help you spread the word. So we've done this multiple times. Sometimes it's very tiny little events. Sometimes it's online events. Sometimes it's much more big kind of corporate conference-y style events. But sometimes it's been little events like this one that we did in lockdown, which was with one of our clients, Danny Wallace, and she created something called Danny-oke, and it was literally in her living room, her doing some singing, some karaoke songs to try and lift people up in the first lockdown. And we got quite a lot of PR around that because it was something quite fun and it was something quite light-hearted. It was something that the media really bought into, connecting it into the sort of situation of the time and how everyone was feeling. It really fit in with Danny's values because she's all around fun. She's all around lifting people up, bringing people together, that sense of community. And music is a massive part of her brand too. So it really fit. And it gave us an opportunity to just get some light-hearted PR out. Now, the work that we've done with Danny, if any of you follow Danny Wallace, the Queen Bee, the work that we've done with Danny is sometimes quite heavy, because it can be quite intense. So Danny's story is very intense. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of highs and lows in her story, in her real life story. And we have told that story many times in different ways. So sometimes when you're looking for PR opportunities, actually you're looking to layer that PR and you're looking to vary it and to give it a different sense and energy. So doing something really light around a fun event was actually a really nice way to balance out her PR. Danny's not scared of sharing her story, and we have done it a lot of times. But actually, sometimes you need a different dimension and you need a different way to go. So it can work just as well in that instance too. Events also work really well, whether it's online or in real life, if they've got a fundraising element to them, because this gives you that other PR angle, that angle of you supporting a charity, that angle of you being a business who has those values, who wants to give back, and a way for the wider world, the wider community, the readers of those media to also support you too. So if you can think about bringing in any fundraising elements or charity elements, then that also really gives you extra legs from a PR perspective. Okay, so the next way that you can create a story without telling your own is by creating a thing. So if you actually create something, so that gives you something to write about, to talk about. So what I mean by this is write a book, create an ebook, create something, a planner, something that actually is of use to people, an actual product, and then you can PR that thing. And you don't need to go into your backstory to be able to do this. So you can focus much more on your expertise and the area of expertise that you're sharing. So an example of this, one of our clients in lockdown created a kids ebook. It was a really gorgeous story, and it was all around sort of following the life of this little girl and her experiences and her emotions through lockdown. And the writer was an NLP expert, and she really tapped into her knowledge and her expertise and her language, her use of language, to really help kids kind of get to grips with their own emotions. And she used quite a lot of NLP language sort of subconsciously, and little triggers and little actions and activities to really help them really identify what exactly they were going through. Now, this was really clever because the client in question, she usually works with high achieving leaders. So she usually works with adults, professionals. But through lockdown, obviously that work kind of wasn't quite as much as usual. So she had a bit of time on her hands and she was thinking, well, how can I use this time for good? But also, how can I keep my profile up there so that I'm not forgotten, in the eyes of my potential clients? And this was a really, really clever thing to do because, again, it got loads and loads of PR because it was a really interesting approach. And it was something that was hugely needed, actually, I think, hugely valuable, really, really well done. And it just illustrated not only her expertise, but her values as well, which is so important. And you can say so much by illustrating your values, almost as much as you can in telling your entire backstory, actually. And it really brought her to life, what she stood for, and you got a real sense of what this incredible woman was all about. So have a think about that. What could you create? What could you make? What could you produce that would be a useful resource for somebody, which illustrates your knowledge and the value that you are here to bring? Okay, the last point on this is to create a story. Think about the parts of your life right now which are actually quite interesting and that are an element of your story. So we're not talking about your backstory here. We're not talking about your life journey. We're talking about what's going on in your life right now that could be interesting, that could be news. And the best way to think about that is what ties into the topical agenda, what ties into what's going on in the world right now, and what are you doing in the context of that could be interesting. So there's a couple of examples here. So one example is one of our clients, as a result of COVID, basically decided to up sticks and leave the UK and go and live abroad, create a completely new life abroad and set up from scratch. Now, this is something that the media are interested in. They're interested in people changing their lives. They're interested in people making quite drastic decisions like that. They're interested in the fact that they've kind of been driven out of the UK. And why was that? What's more appealing, in other countries? So there's lots of different elements there that are intriguing. And that gives you PR fodder. So this particular client only had to tell that part of her story, which is her current story, not her entire backstory, to get herself in some media. Another example was a client who created a gym in her backyard during lockdown, and that actually attracted some local press interest because she'd sort of gone all out and really put the effort into creating this routine for her and her family and creating this ready-made space that they could use consistently as a family for their mental health, for their mental well-being. And so she put that out to the media to basically say, look, I've been stuck here, but I know for my own mental health that I need to do exercise and that I need to do that consistently and I need to do that every day. And so I've created this space. And actually, then she did a really nice piece about how her family had come together and they were using the space in different ways, but they were using it as a family. And that was giving them lots of things in common. It was giving them lots of things to talk about. It was giving them lots of new leases of life, actually, from doing this exercise together. So you might think, well, that doesn't sound that interesting. That doesn't sound that PRable, but it's how you connect it to what's going on in life. Because at that point, when everyone was stuck at home and they were struggling and they were finding their own ways to cope, this was an example of a family who had found exactly what they needed to cope, and actually they were creating new opportunities to connect as a family through having done this. So then when you give it that human element, it really is interesting, and it connected to the values of that client who was all around supporting strong mental health, really being conscious of self-care and self-love and all of that type of stuff. So it really fits with her message as a business, but enabling her to just kind of scratch the surface of that by sharing a little bit of her life. So what I'm hoping from that is that you can see that you don't always have to go deep. You don't always have to go deep down into the depths of your personal story and your journey and all of those ups and downs and bumps along the way to get yourself PR coverage. Yes, there is value in doing that. And yes, there is absolutely loads of scope in terms of what opportunities you can get yourself if you're prepared to go there. But if you're not prepared to go there, or you're not ready to go there, or you're not able to go there, I just want you to know that you do have other options and that your story isn't the be all and end all. So some people in the masterclass last time, when I was chatting to them last week, said that they'd been told before by other PR people that the story was the way to go, the way to get PR. And if you didn't do that, then basically there was nothing out there for you. And I just don't think that's right. So I think you need to understand and to appreciate there are other ways that you can do this. There are other ways that you can tap into opportunities. It just takes a little bit more creativity. It takes a little bit more thinking, and it takes a little bit more kind of being connected to understanding actually what you could do to create those PR opportunities, getting your head in the right place to be able to see those opportunities and create them. That doesn't necessarily always come that natural to everyone. So I just thought if I highlighted this, then it's on your radar and you might start to see some of the things that are going on in your life that perhaps could be PRable, or some things that you could maybe create in the new year that would enable you to be PRable and give yourself some opportunities to be more seen. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find opportunities for you to be seen, more opportunities for you to get visible, more chances for you to share yourself, your business, and your mission. So that's what I'm hoping that this episode has moved you forward with. That's what I'm hoping you're feeling, that there's opportunities out there for you. And that's how I want you to feel overall through PR Powerhouse, to feel like you are able to tap into these opportunities. These opportunities are there for you, no matter what barriers you're putting out there in terms of, in this instance, not being able to share your story. Please do come and join us over on our socials, because over there you will see all the different ways that we get people PR. It's so vast and so varied in terms of what people talk about. So come and join us on Instagram, come and join us on Facebook, and you will see some PR in action examples, which I think will just further inspire you. PR's out there for the taking. It's there for you to have it. You've just got to know how to play the game.
Thank you for listening to PR Powerhouse with me, Jo Swan. If you want to feel empowered and supported and excited about getting in the press, come and join us in our free community over on Facebook at PR You Can Do It. I would absolutely love to see you there so I can help you take those next steps to getting in the media.